Now going over to question 16, this question is about an intersection. You don't see the word intersection specifically when you have two equations and we're being asked about the solution for those equations. What we're being asked about is the number of times these two functions hit one another. And we're being told that that's one time. But generally speaking, for intersection, you want to get both equations in the y equals format and set them equal. So y equals this right here, and y equals x squared plus 8x plus a. Now, a lot of students will ask if this is a good place to use Desmos. And my general rule for Desmos is when you see constants, like in this situation, the letter A, basically anything besides x and y, that's where maybe Desmos is not so much of a good idea. So we have this intersection set up. We have the two functions equal to one another. And this is where we should tell ourselves this is a quadratic. Generally, whenever you see y equals x squared or any variation of that, you should say this is a quadratic. And to solve those, you get everything on one side equal to 0, preferably with the x squared term being positive. So for us right now, that means adding 1.5 to both sides, and we'll have 0 equals all this stuff plus 1.5. And from here, we have to look around and say, okay, well, what information do we have that we haven't used yet? And it's the idea that there's one solution for this quadratic situation. And the number of solutions for a quadratic is the idea of the discriminant, which is the idea that the b squared minus 4ac of a quadratic equation dictates how many answers there are. If it's positive, there'd be two answers because here we'd be adding and subtracting. If it's 0, there's one answer because we're not adding or subtracting anything. And if it's negative, there's no solutions because you're not allowed to have a negative under a radical. So in our question, we're seeing that there's one solution, and that lines up with this right here. There's only one solution if the discriminant is 0, because like I said, there would be nothing to add if you were actually doing the quadratic formula. So from here, we can say, okay, well, we know that b squared minus 4ac must be equal to 0. And what are a and b and c? Well, we're talking about the format ax squared plus bx plus c. And a is the invisible 1 in front of the x squared, b is the 8 in front of the x, and c is the a plus 1.5. Now, it's very confusing that we have two a's that mean two different things, but in the one situation, we're talking about a, b, and c as positions. And in the other situation, we have the actual variable a. So there are two different a's there, and you have to be very careful. So b squared minus 4ac is 8 squared minus 4 times 1 times a plus 1.5. So our entire c is a plus 1.5, and that all equals 0. And now we're solving. 64 minus 4, a plus 1.5 equals 0. Distribute. 64 minus 4a minus 6 equals 0. Combine like terms, 64 minus 6 is 58, minus 4a equals 0. And now we can add 4a to both sides. Let's put it over here. We'll add 4a to both sides. 58 equals 4a, and then divide by 4 on both sides, and a will come out to 14.5 for this question.